People of the internet, it is I, Don Thomas, back in here with another segment of Downtime. As always, folks, the likes, the comments, and subscribes are all greatly appreciated. Thank you so much for the support on this channel. Without further ado, let's go ahead and dive into today's topic, folks. This past weekend, a movie dropped, debuted on Netflix. I think it came out a few months ago, of course, in America and select theaters, whatever the case is. But it did debut on Netflix. The movie's called Leave the World Behind. Starring, of course, Julia Roberts, Mahershala Ali, of course, Ethan Hawke, Kevin Bacon, so on and so forth. I would definitely encourage everybody to watch this film, especially if you are a U.S. inhabitant. Without spoiling it, of course, I'll touch on the surface of course, what the movie's basically about. And, of course, it's actually in the trailer, so it's not really a spoiler. But basically, in a nutshell, this movie is about a family that goes on vacation. And the vacation is interrupted by what seems to be a U.S. cyber attack on, U.S. soil, or whatever the case is. And the movie kind of unfolds from there. Devices stop working all of a sudden. No internet, no iPads, no phones. And the movie kind of transpires from there. I wanted to speak on this because I felt like, one, I've actually spoken on something like this before. If you go back to my discography of videos on this channel, I spoke on something like this before in terms of the U.S. power grid, right? And how fragile it is, how fragile the U.S. power grid is, what that means, what it would look like if anything of that, of that nature was to transpire. And this movie basically depicted exactly that. Now, to be completely honest, I watched this movie twice. I watched the movie twice. I was joking around and said the first time I listened, the second time I listened, right? Because outside of the fact that I feel like me personally, it was beautifully shot, great cinematography, great dialogue, great suspense. I feel like there was some comic relief in there as well too. It's a solid movie in my opinion. Yeah, there were some mixed reviews, of course, in terms of the ending. People were not a huge in favor of how the movie ended, which I can kind of agree was a little bit of letdown, but it worked for me. And I think honestly, it just kind of set up a possibility for a part two. You're not saying that one's officially slated, but I feel like this movie, if anything, does look like it has a possibility to have a part two. But that's neither here nor there. The main takeaway of this movie, folks, is that I feel like it was a warning. I feel like it couldn't have been more blatant as to what could potentially be the reality. I might have said this in a few videos as well too, man. Sometimes we can't just chalk things up to, oh, it's just a movie. Oh, it's just a song. People put messages and, whether they're subliminal messages or blatant messages, and I feel like this is one of the situations where it was a blatant message of things that could potentially happen. The one thing that I found very interesting, and I think this is the factor that made it very creepy and very real and very, it raised the alarms of a lot of people, is that this movie was executive produced by Barack and Michelle Obama. Barack and Michelle Obama started a production company back in 2018. I think the company's called Higher Ground Productions. And they executive produced this film. And you ask, well, what's the big deal, bro? Of course, we all know Barack, former president of the United States, Michelle Obama, first lady of the United States, former first lady of the United States. And the movie was about a U.S. cyber attack that literally kicked off the fall of civilization. Oh no, folks! I can't just chalk that up to coincidence. I can't just bypass that fact, man. You have a former U.S. president involved, whether financially. Now, I read an article I saw somewhere on Variety. I think Variety posted that Obama was pretty hands-on on this. He had, of course, script notes. He grounded the director in terms of, hey, man, do this, say this, depict it this way, because this is how most likely it would usually happen. In the movie, folks, it's just chaos. In the movie, folks, there's a lot of things happening in there. And, of course, as I mentioned, I'm not going to put any spoilers in there, but there was a lot of things happening in the movie that I think is inevitable. I spoke on this before, man. Honest to God, like, you hear talks about, like, nuclear war, right? You hear talks about, like, global warming. You hear all these things are potential threats to America. And to be completely honest, in my personal opinion, I don't rank those as high as a cyber attack. I think the number one thing of all the threats possible that I know of, I think a cyber attack on our infrastructure is the number one thing that we should be afraid of. Honestly, I'm not really worried about bombs dropping overhead from a nuclear attack. I'm not worried about global warming. I mean, these are not things that I'm not completely dismissing, but I don't rank them higher on my list of priorities or my list of threats than a cyber attack. I think that's inevitable. I think it's inevitable, folks. I think a lot of people, when they hear, oh, attack on the internet, they're maybe just thinking social media. No, folks. The internet is way bigger than TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. The internet is what your ATMs are ran on. The internet is what your cash registers are ran on in grocery stores. The internet is what a lot of systems in the medical offices, the infrastructure, is ran on. Your Teslas are ran on the internet. What else? The list is long. There's a long list of things that are contingent upon the internet. If the internet goes down, you might as well call it the end of the world. And why would I say the end of the world? Because we've grown so dependent upon the internet. The type of cyber attack we're talking about, man, it's not a little, it's down for a few hours. It's down and it's going to take months, maybe even years to come back up. Ultimately, folks, you ask, well, man, all right, it's just a movie. Some people would say, man, well, it's just a movie. Don't overthink it, bro. It's just a movie, man. Had you removed the Obama's executive producing it, you would have had me on that. Maybe. And I still would have kind of feel it as passionately as I do about it then, even if they did or did not executive produce it, though they did, of course. If they did not, I would still kind of feel away, because even if you take away that, the timing of it all, don't you think the timing was a little bit interesting? This movie drops at the end of 2023, right? Leading us, of course, into 2024, which people are speculating to be one of the most controversial years that America will see, with one of the most controversial elections next year that America will see. So you tell me a former U.S. president, of course, Obama, people have their mixed reviews. Some people think Obama was part of the problem. Some people think Obama, brought some forth to change. I'm more so speaking to the character of Obama. Obama doesn't strike me as somebody that's just going to attach his name to anything. Both Barack and Michelle Obama. They don't strike me as people that, I saw somebody, I think it was Jamel Hill. She made an interesting tweet that I quoted, previously. I probably shared on the screen. And she thought that it was what she said. What did she say? She thought it was masterful trolling. What did she say? She thinks it was a hoax. She thinks it was just a troll. And again, I'm never opposed to people's opinions. It's your opinion. You are entitled to it. But the Obamas don't strike me as people that have time to be playing games. The Obamas don't strike me as people that, are going to just put their hands in anything and just for the sake of entertainment, their own entertainment, their own amusement. I feel like if there was any way to give a message, you put it in the movies, you put it in the music, you put it in the culture, you bring it down to the people. You package it in a way that people are going to be more receptive to it. And of course, we know that's through the movies. We can't just chalk things up all the time to it's just a movie. Nah, bro. That's not going to work for this one in particular for me, man. The timing of it all just seems a little bit strange. I think we've officially been warned, to be completely honest. I think that it is inevitable. I have my predictions on what I think is going to happen with our society. As I mentioned, of course, I think a cyber attack on U.S. soil is inevitable. And of course, some point in the movie, there's confusion in terms of who did it, who hit the button. Was it the Russians? Was it the Koreans? Was it the Iranians? Shit, was it the U.S.? Let's just keep it 100, man. Was it the United States? I'm not here to speculate on who is more likely to push the button. I'm just sitting here saying that I feel like the button will be pushed. That's what I'm trying to say. The button will be pushed. So then you ask, well, what are you doing to prepare, bro? Since you think it's going to happen, what's your level of preparation, man? What should we do, man? In the event of a cyber attack that knocks out our whole infrastructure in terms of how we live our day-to-day lives. What do I do in that situation, bro? Couple things, man. If you ask me what I'm planning on personally doing, first things first, you educate yourself, man. Be aware of these things. Some people don't even know what the U.S. power grid is, how it even works. Educate yourself, one. Let me start learning a little bit of what's happening in the world around me. You're in it already. You might as well learn what's happening in your surroundings. Educate yourself, man. There was a quote in there, of course, again, too, I thought, by GH, Mashallah Ali's character in there. He says, nothing bothers me more than a person that's unwilling to learn, even at their own expense. I thought that was a beautiful line. People are unwilling to learn, even at their own expense. Learn some things, folks. Everything can't be games. Everything can't be fun and games 24/7, man. Take some time to educate yourself. And then I'll even take it a step further. Once you've educated yourself, educate the people around you. These are the conversations you need to be having with your family, folks, at the dinner table, in your group chats. Everything can't be the Kardashians and celebrity gossip. Everything can't be gossip about, oh, did you see what such and such did? Everything can't be gossip about the people you know, because I know a lot of people that do that as well, too. You sit and gossip about the people that you know. That's not going to get you anywhere. Start having more productive conversations in your group chats. Start having more productive conversations at your dinner tables, man. Start putting a plan together with your family. Hey, in the case of an emergency, we are going to do this. We're going to meet here. We're going to operate like this. We're going to move like this. This is what we're going to do. Have these conversations now just in case. You don't want a bomb to go off, and then that's when you want to start racking your brain as to the next steps to be completed. Folks, the times are different, man. The times are different. Society right now is at a place is looking real shaky to me. Another thing I thought was kind of interesting within that movie was how the trust was all just out the window. As soon as, there's no distinctive enemy, of course, because there was confusion, of course, as I mentioned in the movie, who did it, who pushed the button, and of course you don't really know who to trust, who's telling the truth, look at our society now and how we treat each other now without catastrophe. You think in the midst of chaos is when people are really gonna want to come together and hold hands. It's gonna be every man for himself, how we set up ourselves now, unless we combat it by being more compassionate with each other. This, of course, is something that I always speak on this channel as well, too. We got to be more mindful of how we treat each other, folks. It's like we're letting our differences lead us further and further apart at a time where we need to be coming together and putting our differences aside and putting some plays in action just in case some things pop off. I don't know, man. You ask, yo, bro, what else should I be doing, man? What's your plan? What else should I be doing? To be completely honest, of course, there's and this is not a spoiler, of course, within the movie, but of course, people like, yo, do I start doomsday prepping and getting supplies to stock up? Absolutely. And if you got bunker bread, if you are of the tax bracket where you can build a bunker in your home, go for it, bro. I'm not in that bracket just yet. But go for it, bro. Stock up on some things, man. It doesn't hurt to, stack up a few cases of water in the crib, supplies, medicine. Of course, those are going to be the things when there's no grocery stores and all the looting and the rioting is taking place and all the robbing and killing and stealing. You're going to want to have your own stash of some things, folks. That's some things that I'm doing to prepare, and I need to do a better job of as well, too, to be completely honest. And I'll even throw it out there as well, too, man. If you're opposed to firearms, I'm going to suggest that you revisit that idea. I myself have been putting it off for way too long in terms of exercising my Second Amendment. Right? Second Amendment, right to bear arms, right? Because, of course, in a time of chaos, in my opinion, those are going to be the people that's going to lead the way. Those are going to be the people that are going to be able to defend themselves against small militia groups and this, that, and the other, whatever the case is, yada, yada, yada. You ask yourself, yo, bro, but tell me more, man. What else should I be doing in the event like something like that, in the event that something like that pops off, man? Get your soul right. That's what I'm doing. Get your soul right, man. Some of you guys are carrying a heavy soul, the burdens of deceit and jealousy and envy, all the negative traits that a human could possess. Some of y'all possess one too many of them. Lighten your soul so that way, if you believe in an afterlife like I do, even if you don't, man, you feel that you left this world behind on a positive note. To be completely honest, I even said this as well too. I feel like I had this conversation with somebody else earlier. If you ask me, bro, if chaos was to strike right now in the United States, yeah, I'm not saying I'm just going to stay still. Yeah, I'm going to have some level of survival mode instincts that kick in. I'll run if I need to run. I'll hide if I need to hide. I'll try to keep myself alive as long as possible. But to be completely honest, folks, in the type of catastrophe that could potentially happen in an event like that, man, you might as well just find a quiet corner and ask your higher power, if you believe in such a thing, to receive you on the other side. To be completely honest, I'm not about to do the most. Me personally, I won't do the most. Like I said, if there's chaos, I'm gonna run. If I gotta run, high jump, I'm gonna do all of that. But in terms of, I'm seeing people like, nah, I can survive. I'm gonna be able to survive this apocalypse or whatever the case is. Yeah, I can survive. I'm gonna come out on top. Do you understand what happens? Do you survive and do what? Even the people that say, oh yeah, man, even the people that got their bunkers, and of course you fill it up with food and water, whatever the case is, when the dust settles, and if it ever settles, because of course, radiation and toxins in the air, whatever the case is, yeah, you can stay in your bunker for, 3 months, 6 months? What if it's years, folks? Survive and do what? Hospitals are gone. Infrastructure is gone. Dead bodies all over the place. Survive and do what? Stick around and do what? So you might as well, if it's your time, let it be your time and move on. That's, honest to God, like, I'm going to survive up until a point where it makes sense. But once elements start happening, of course, another element as well, too, sickness, things that are outside of your control. That was an element of the movie as well, too. When all the medicine's done, all the water's gone, all the ammunition of your guns are out, what do you want to stick around and do? Is what's left? So it's just like, yeah, you want to survive, but if we're talking 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years, or however long it may be, survive and do what? You might as well get your soul right. If you believe in a higher power, ask for the receivance of your soul on the other side. I'm laughing, but it's not funny, bruh. Like, honestly, that's my whole take on that, man. Like, yeah, there's survivalist instincts, but I'm not about to do the most, man. Ultimately, folks, what am I saying, man? If you watch this movie, I want you to take notes. I don't think it was just, we can't just chalk this one up to just a movie. The things that were said in that movie, we just can't chalk it up to it being a movie, bro. There's certain things that are said in the movie where just like, you can't overlook that, bro. You can't. You cannot. I'm sorry, bro. You can't just chalk that up to a movie. Things were said in there that I think will be the actual happenings that will take place. In my honest to God opinion, when it's all said and done, because you do know all empires do fall, right? I think we think America is like this impenetrable force that can never fall. Every empire falls. Just look at history, bro. Even if you think America is up now, will it be up forever? I don't know. So like I said, folks, I didn't want this to be too long, but what are the cases, man? If you've seen the movie, Leave the World Behind, I want to hear your thoughts on it in the comment section, because I was going off on Twitter this past weekend, bro. Like, not necessarily going off, but I was really passionate about this movie, because to the point that I even watched it twice, as I said, because I think everything that was depicted in the movie is 100% going to happen. I'll say that. That's why I really enjoyed this movie. Again, for the cinematic aspect of it, the dialogue, the suspense, of course, and then just the story itself. I genuinely, in my heart, wholeheartedly believe that the exact happenings that took place in that movie will happen in America. And honestly, to be completely honest, if I had to put a timestamp on it, I would say it's going to happen from anywhere from 2024 to 2035. Interesting time. I think by the year 2030, 2035, we're living in a completely different society. AI and all, robots and all. It's going to be a completely different world. Start preparing yourself now. It's not a game out here, folks, man. We being distracted by a lot of things that don't matter. Too much distractions out here in the world, man, and it's probably purposely done by our media. Keep them blind, keep them dumb. I think there was a line in there as well, too, somewhere in there. Keep them blind, keep them dumb. Keep them distracted, keep them dismantled, keep them bickering and fighting with each other. That's going to be easy. We're going to do it to ourselves. All they got to do is push the button, take away the internet. We'll do the rest ourselves. Blood would be shed. Lives will be lost. 110%. Put a plan in action with you and your loved ones, so that way you're not sitting around looking around on some, what are we supposed to do when the inevitable happens. That's my take, folks. Of course, I didn't want to say too much. I don't want to spoil it for the people who haven't seen the movie. I do encourage you to watch it. I might even watch it again, to be completely honest. I'm not even playing. Like, I really enjoyed that movie. I thought it was a real good movie. Again, I can understand your gripes if you weren't too satisfied with the ending. But again, I feel like the ending just kind of sets it up for a part 2. I wouldn't be opposed to watching a second, a sequel to this movie. But What are your thoughts, folks? I'd love to hear it. Do you believe that our society is decaying? Or are you able to see, are you a little bit more optimistic than I am and can see the light at the end of the tunnel? Do you believe we have some time and nothing like this will ever happen in our generation? Do you believe in our government and its ability to protect us through such a time? What are your thoughts, folks? What did you think of the movie if you saw it, man? Leave some comments down in the comment section. Of course, I'd love to hear it. Again, I appreciate the comments, the likes, and subscribes. All the support so far has been greatly appreciated. I will catch you on the next one.